Hello and welcome to this week's sports edition of the Scrimshaw Show. My name is Evan Scrimshaw. Um, Olympic hockey has been happening. I've been watching a lot of it. My sleep schedule is completely destroyed by European Olympics, and I'm bringing back Liam MacKinnon to talk about Team Canada going 3-0 through the preliminary or through the group stage, getting that number one seed. We'll talk about the Americans getting unnecessarily tough 2-7 matchup against Sweden. The IIHF having an extraordinarily stupid system for how this works. We'll talk about the prelim games. We'll talk about the quarterfinals. Talk about everything else that's happening at the Olympics that we've cared about at least. And I'll probably complain about curling nonsense at the end because it's my podcast. Liam MacKinnon, how are you, bud?
I am great, Evan. Can we all agree? One of the oddly satisfying things in life as a hockey fan is to wake up early enough for a 6 a.m. international hockey game, get the old pot of coffee brewing, and watch the best players play the best players. Like that has been a lot of fun. And obviously, watching Canada has been a lot of fun. And I'm happy to be discussing that with you today. What we've done and what we can expect going forward.
Cute of you to think that there is a concept of waking up for 6 a.m. hockey for me. I'm just powering through and stealing 2-hour naps because they've got the curling, because they've got to do the curling. They got to do 3 sessions a day. So that the curling's at 3 a.m. Eastern. So I'm just powering through and stealing 2 hours at a time.
I'm not as thorough as you are.
Look, we'll get to the Marquette of it all at the end of the pod. I have a news and notes section planned for me to rant about this and to rant about what the fuck is happening with Virgil Homan, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Canada, 3-0.
Yeah.
Life's good. I mean, the France win was like extraordinarily fake. Shout out to Germany for not losing too badly to the Americans to save us the number one seed. Have like a real. We'll get to some of the not so sort of the warning signs to the future. The defense. We'll have a whole Binnington conversation, I'm sure. But got any sort of big picture takeaways about Canada? 3-0, big wins in all three. Life's good, eh?
Yeah. So my top line takeaway is this preliminary round hasn't really taught us much. As far as Canada's concerned, they just did their job. They beat the Czechs resoundingly. France as well. I thought their biggest test was against the Swiss, by far. One of the bones I have to pick with the IIHF, Evan, is just statistical availability. We haven't been able to get much out of their website or the Olympic website, but thank God we've got hockeystats.com, who apparently whose staff has been manually tracking slot shots. And when you're looking at metrics from the Canada games, you can see that the Swiss was able to penetrate that Canadian defensive zone and get a higher number of slot shots. So I was actually impressed by the Swiss. It was, I think, a little bit revealing in that game. We were able to see some of the weak links on Canada, namely, I think the defenseman named Colton Parayko, Travis Sanheim, Drew Doughty, and who am I missing here? I mean, Morrissey being out is obviously a big problem. But I have not been impressed by Canada's defense when they were getting a little bit of offensive pressure. And I've not been impressed with Jordan Binnington. Well, at least as far as that France game was concerned, I didn't like seeing those 2 leaky goals go past him. So I've got some of the concerns I had pre-tournament have been slightly validated. So I'm a little bit nervous that those weaknesses will be exploited by better teams going forward. But Canada has done the job. I'll add one more thing here, Evan. Celebrini, McDavid, and MacKinnon is an ethically questionable line. it should be investigated probably. That is not that is not a legal line. It was such a joy to watch those three go to just pounding the opposition and really doing whatever they want. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, celebrating and McDavid. It's been one of the true revelations of the tournament. I thought it was like it's extraordinarily fun to see McDavid get to play with because it's always been fun to see Crosby and especially last year it was fun to see Crosby and McDavid who didn't get 2018 and 2022 together to see them sort of bond and you see that sort of deep mutual respect between generations. It is very fun that we get a 19-year-old, I think he's still 19, Celebrini playing with the guy of the previous generation, the guy of the two previous generations, honestly, with Crosby. We should not underestimate how insane it is that Crosby is still this good. But it's so fun to see McDavid and Celebrini being so happy. There's a clip of, I don't remember who scored in the goal, but there's just the bench shot of McDavid just hugging Celebrini when Canada scores. It's so fun to see the sort of generational link through the sort of elite number one picks. Celebrini is so good. He's so good.
Speaking of Celebrini too, isn't it great to see those cut shots to his mom and dad, and I think sister as well, whenever he scores?
It's so good.
That family has generated two elite hockey talents. One is already in the NHL and is probably one of the best players in the world. The other, RJ Celebrini, is just lapping a U15 league, I think, as a 14-year-old. I forget where, but yeah, that is a hockey family, to say the very least.
Wasn't his brother a fourth round pick of the Canucks too? It's insane. Celebrity is so fun. But yeah, no, the defense is old and slow, which it doesn't seem great to me how bad the defense is. It hasn't mattered so far, but it hasn't mattered so far because there has not been enough talent to take advantage of it. And we're, probably likely getting Czechia in the next round. So it's going to be fine. But it seems concerning that we're at a place where we are this worried about, the defense. There are three healthy Canadian defensemen that we trust right now. Taves, Makar, Harley. Do we trust anyone else?
Yeah, Makar, Taves, and Harley are the ones I would trust. I mean, Harley is just moving the puck. I think he needs a really defensively reliable partner. I would probably elevate Parayko with him and let them play, I don't know, 18 minutes a night. That Makar and Taves are going to be playing, probably half the game going forward. But yeah, they haven't been tested, but that one bigger test they've gotten versus the Swiss, I think revealed that we have a problem here with some of our lower pairing defensemen, namely Sanheim, Doughty, and I forget who the other is, Evan. But yeah, we have a depth issue. When you compare, we discussed this on the last podcast episode. The US have pretty much perfect defense. Sweden has a really good defense. Finland has a great defense by virtue of the way they play better than the sum of their parts. Canada seems to have the opposition. I think I'm worried we'll be able to exploit that third pairing. So hopefully those top two pairings will be able to carry the load.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to. I think Parayko Harley should be the second pair. Obviously, Taves and Makar is a star number one pair, and that's fine. Matt Schaefer absolutely should be on this team. I think the inclusion of Celebrini, but the disrespect and the refusal to include Schaefer looks even stupider in hindsight. Schaefer has been generational. He's struggling to think of a rookie who has been as immediately good and immediately not even good, but immediately great as Schaefer in the NHL. He's ridiculously good, and it's for a country whose offense is this dynamic. It's weird that our defense core beyond the top sort of three guys, and Josh Morrissey obviously is a big loss, but like it's weird that we have a defense core of like immobile, like slow, immobile, not very good puck movers for a team that is as sort of like fluid offensively as it is, right? And it's going to be quite interesting to see when we start to play tougher names in the semis, in the finals, because again, Czechia or Denmark in the quarters, not the world's toughest test, especially given we've already beaten Czechia once. But like, there's a real question of like, we are going to have to play a fairly high event game, and if we get into another final that's relatively low event, relatively sort of boring hockey, that's going to favor the other teams because I don't trust I don't trust that third pair. I don't trust Sandheim. I don't trust Drew Doughty. Parayko is on the border of who I trust. And
So
then
Doughty's been playing with Harley most of the time. And
yeah,
I think
but I don't
they've
want
looked
that.
good. Yeah, exactly. They've looked good, but that sample just really isn't indicative of anything.
I think Parayko's been the fourth. I think Parayko's been the fourth best defenseman on the team, and I think it needs to be him and Harley. And then I think we just need to really not. I think we need to shelter the fuck out of Doughty
Sandheim
and
and Theodore.
Sandheim,
Yeah, and then
or Theodore. Yeah, if we
yeah,
want to play him, I don't like any of these options. They're all bad. Like
yeah.
at least in goal, which we'll get to in a minute. At least in goal, I can make a case for Jordan Binnington that I actually agree with. I can make a case that's persuasive to me. I can't even make a case on this defense.
I can't either. This was one of the pre-existing concerns, and I fully agree with your take on Matt Schaefer. I think he should be on this team. But I think the Canada does have one roster construction issue that they can't fix. Like, who's a really mobile right shot defenseman that can play top 4 minutes? Their answer is Colton Parayko, but I would argue that that is not sufficient. Canada lacks a better version of a Colton Parayko type, I think.
I mean, Bouchard could have been an option.
Well, that's not
But
the same role, right? Like
yeah,
Bouchard's an offensively gifted defenseman who's not going to be clearing the front of the net. Like he's not going to be, you know, competing for space with Brady Tkachuk in front of the net.
but that's because that's not what the Oilers are asking him to do. Like I do think there is a sort of bias towards what people have done at a club level and the assumption that they can't do it for country when it's like, and you see this a lot in international football, right? The sort of like people who want to make like the England national team sort of like, oh, just make it like the Premier League All-Stars or whatever. And it's like, well, that doesn't work. But there is a mix between putting guys in the systems that they have played. Like, I think part of the reason Bouchard hasn't done it is because he has to be a number one defenseman. He has to be the offensive engine of the Oilers, in addition to McDavid and Draisaitl, obviously. But like, I do think there is a universe in which taking more talented players can change their roles. I think Jake Sanderson has certainly been far more defensively, like not that Sanderson is defensively unreliable for the Sens, but I think he has certainly not been as offensively creative and has been more sort of controlled for the Americans. That's because he's the third pairing defenseman for Team USA, and he's not getting the same opportunities and not being put in the same roles. And I think there's every reason to think that more talented players, we just need guys who aren't a billion years old. Doughty should not be on this team. I get it. You've earned the roster slot. We want people who have been reliable soldiers for Team Canada. Drew Doughty is not good enough to be on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm talking about games against quality opponents, really like top 4 in this tournament type games. which Canada has not had so far. So it would be foolish to draw conclusions after those 3 games. I'll admit Doughty has elevated his game, certainly, relative to what we've seen from him in LA for the past couple seasons. And Pareko in the NHL is certainly a defensively reliable defenseman with size, physicality, ability to suppress chances, but there's a speed issue there. So yeah, I think any team with lots of speed and physicality in the offensive zone will be able to take advantage of that. Whether that's Finland, whether that's the US, or I don't know, maybe even the Czechs if Pastrnak decides to have an outstanding game.
Just make the case that the Binnington quarterfinal goalie thing is a mistake. I'm just opening the floor to you. Go ahead, make the case for a change.
Well, look, Evan, I'll go back to my initial statement. The Swiss were Canada's biggest test. The Swiss had far more chances, quality chances in the slot, in the inner slot. Thompson looked really solid. He turned away high danger chances. He probably saved 2 goals. I didn't look at the goals save above expected stats, although the IHF probably doesn't track that. Bennington, on the other hand, was leaky. And I get it. He had 12 shots against. It's not easy to stay focused and all that. But he gave this coaching staff and the management a reason to just believe what you see here. Like, you've got a goalie who like Bennington's got this confident energy, and he's got that record from the Four Nations, and he's got that Stanley Cup pedigree. So he can be confident enough to make you believe in him. But he's also reckless enough to make you regret it immediately. And we saw that. We saw that against France. Like, we can't have a game against the Czechs where Lucas Dostal, who's very capable of great games, by the way, very, very talented goalie, stops 35 of 37 shots he faces. And we lose the game 3-2 because Binnington lets in one of those goals, like the one he let in against France. I can't have that. Like, the Canada has not played with NHL players at an Olympic. No country has. We've not seen NHL players at the Olympics for 12 years. We need to win this. The best goalie on paper this season is Logan Thompson, and I've seen enough. Logan Thompson was the most tested goalie, and he showed up. Binnington was not tested and was underwhelming against France, of all teams. That's my K7.
Here's the counterpoint to it. He's earned the net. And I know that's like such a stupid sports guy thing to say. He's earned the net. He won us the Four Nations with an absolutely incredible overtime against the Americans in the final. He was good throughout the tournament. And the thing is, I think with goaltending, which is such a mental exercise, you trust the guy who has earned the net. And look, I am perfectly happy. Like, I get it. I get the case that you're making. I get the statistical nature of it all. I am a stats guy. I am a data nerd. I was literally updating a federal election model, right, and an Ontario model today. I'm tweaking it. I'm looking at stuff. Things are happening over there. There'll be a column out about Terrebonne while you're listening to this, if anyone has a politics need. But Binnington has earned the net. And I think at the end of the day, it is unreasonable to me to base a decision about who gets a quarterfinal based on how you played in a game when you were very clearly kicking France's ass and weren't caring. Like, I know, and I get that it's as stupid to be like, yes, but he won us the Four Nations, so he has earned the net. I get it, but like, if he's underwhelming in the quarters, we can have this conversation for the semis. But I'm just confident. I trust Binnington. I think he has earned the net, and I think Binnington especially is a confidence player, and I think the confidence that Cooper has instilled in him, the idea that he is the guy, gets us better results. And I do genuinely believe that at the end of the day, this team plays for Binnington. They trust him, and that does matter. That does intangibly matter in a way that like the stats bro part of my mind hates. But like they fucking play for him. They want to play hard for him. I have seen what Connor McDavid and a Connor McDavid led team does when they stop playing for a goalie. They're playing for Binnington. And I really think they trust him. And I don't know if I want to mess with that.
Yeah, well, Evan, I'm going to mark you down as someone who believes in a human plot twist. Like, you never know if it's going to end in glory or chaos, but you're going to roll the dice. Like, what if we get a Binnington softie in that game against Czechia?
Then Connor McDavid
we will
and Nate
never live
MacKinnon
that
and
down.
Sidney Crosby will score 4 goals and everything will be fine because we're the best and we're Canada and we're going to win gold.
Well, then do you go to Thompson next game?
I think that conversation becomes a lot easier if he doesn't. He also literally did shut out the Czechs already once.
He
faced
a very, very small amount of chances. The shot total was
well, that's okay. That's the other part of this conversation. I'm not entirely sure that I'm like that worried about the Czechs.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. Like we can give him the Czech game if he kicks ass again. Great, we run with him. If not, then we can survive the softie against them and still win the game.
Right.
Like I am very grateful that we don't have the American likely quarterfinal. Obviously, we're recording this Monday night, so we haven't seen the preliminary games. I mean, unless we lose to fucking Latvia, you know, that would that would be quite funny. Do you have any other Canadian goalie thoughts, or can we laugh at the fact that the IIHF has created a situation where the U.S. and Sweden is a quarterfinal?
Yes, we may laugh at that, Evan.
Just a complete abomination of a system. Just completely unacceptable. What are they fucking doing?
So, okay. So I think it's worthwhile just reminding everyone what the rules are because they are a little bit confusing and counterintuitive. Now, I'll admit, I was confused about the rules heading into this tournament. I had a totally different understanding of what they actually are. And I was reminded that they were the same in Sochi in 2014. So that's my bad. But the way it works is you're not ranked in accordance with the amount of points that you accrue through the preliminary stage, which is the intuitive way to go about it. You are ranked in accordance with your standing in your group. So that means there's 12 teams. 1 through 3 are the group winners. There's 3 groups, 4 teams per group. 1 through 3 are the group winners. 4 through 6 are the second place teams, and so on. Now, that means when you combine that counterintuitive set of rules with what I would consider disparity between the groups, it makes for Sweden versus US quarterfinals, which is not a great look for the IIHF, let's be honest. Sweden has finished 7th. They would have placed 5th if we're ranking by points. So that's a problem to me. I think the US got a free ride. There were 3 1 and 2 teams in Group C, and there were 3 2 and 1 teams in Group B. It has also meant that, you know, in a very fluke fashion, the Slovaks were able to call themselves the winner of Group B, and at least for a few days, call themselves better than Finland and Sweden because they got that fluky goal on Jacob Markstrom at the tail end of their 3rd game, Evan. So Yeah, I'm not a fan. I would at least like to see more parity between the groups if we're not changing the rules. But if we are changing the rules, Evan, I would like to see teams ranked by their record, the number of points they accrue, and then rank all the teams in accordance with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that hockey is a relatively niche sport, but like it when there are very clearly four dominant powers of a sport, like three groups in which, you know, Finland and Sweden are in the same group is just like a nonsensical solution in the first place. Like no, it's nonsense. It's complete idiocy. Like, you know, our group is actually like reasonably fine. Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, France, like that's, you know, one elite power, two sort of like middle powers, and then a minnow. That's fine. But like it's nonsensical that we have designed a system that enabled Sweden to go 2-1, lose to Finland, and be, you know, the 7 seed. I don't know how much of the U.S. I think I know that you watched a good chunk of the U.S. They've been fairly unremarkable. I thought Germany was like, in some ways, their best performance, but also a performance that is like deeply concerning. I don't trust their offense at all, and I don't trust them to score against better, more well-rounded defenses. Like I'd be fairly concerned if I were an American fan. Like I think their defense is really good, and they're not going to let in very many goals. And I think they've got great goaltending. I think you could make a case that all three of the American goalies are better than any of the Canadian ones. And I think that that decor is just incredible, but I don't trust them to score, man. I think it's just like get to 3 goals and you could beat them. I really think Sweden, I kind of trust America's obviously a deeper team, but I kind of like the Swedes' ability to game break, and you know, I think Nylander and co could do a lot of damage with individual talent. Like I think America's in real trouble with how they build that forward group.
So, okay. So yes, I agree with you. The states have been underwhelming. Just looking at margins of victory against far worse teams than them in their group. I think there have been a few standouts on that team, but there have been some disappointments as well. Um, Matthews, their captain, Evan, by the way, has been pretty good. The Kachucks have been tormenting the opposition and just producing as expected with Eichel. Those are the players that I've really liked so far on that team. But yeah, there are some issues around scoring, up and down the lineup. I think as far as the defense, the only bone I have to pick with their defense core is they're not overly physical, but they're so good. They have so much speed. They can break out the puck. They can sustain pressure in the offensive zone. And obviously, Connor Hellbuck's A game is exponentially better than, I guess, any goalie in this tournament. So we're gonna get a U.S. Sweden quarterfinal. That's discussed. Gun to your head, who is winning that matchup?
Sweden.
Wow.
I do not. I think Sweden can absolutely shut down the Kachucks and Eichel.
Wow. With who?
Matthews. I mean, I think their Dahlin is incredible. I trust enough of their defense. I trust them to be able to manipulate their defense in such a way to sort of structure it so that that line can get shut down. I trust that they know what they're doing. And at the end of the day, Matthews driving his own line is an extremely fickle beast. We see it for the Leafs in big games. It does not work. Yes, he was better against Germany than he was at the beginning of the tournament. At the end of the day, I trust Sweden's game breakers. I don't know what it is about them, but they have the game breaking talent that the Americans lack that je ne sais quoi. to break open games. Matthews, I mean, when has Austin Matthews shown up in a big game? Literally when? We are Sens fans, obviously, that bias is aware, but like, I just, Nylander is the only fucker on the Leafs who can ever do anything in a big spot, in a big moment. You know, the team is deep enough with NHL talent. I am deeply worried about the Americans in this spot because at the end of the day, I think people are overrating Germany is like part of my answer. And when you look at, and look, I think the Germans are, it's understandable why people are doing it. They're overrating that like very, very, and I'm definitely guilty of this. I'm literally wearing a Tim Stützle jersey as we do it. I have a Draisaitl Oilers jersey hanging in my closet, I'm in the tank for the Germans, but like putting three past the Germans is not exactly an impressive, accomplishment or whatever. And I think the Americans are sort of, the Americans have not shown anything to make me believe that they are real and serious people. And I think, I don't, I do genuinely trust that the Swedes can get this done. Hedman, Nylander, you know, Dahlin, Landeskog.
Dahlin's been unbelievable.
Dahlin's been amazing.
Yeah.
Pedersen, 2 goals against the Slovaks.
Future Ottawa Center Elias Pettersson
would be incredible if that happens. But like, look, do I love that? Pontus Holmberg is playing severe minutes for the Swedes? No, but
we need to take a moment here. We need to take a moment to acknowledge how incomprehensible the lineup decisions have been for the Swedes. So Sweden's got this coach, I believe, an SHL coach. His name is Sam Hallam, who appears to be enemy number one amongst Swedish hockey fans and maybe even Swedish hockey players on that team. He, for some reason, decided to scratch Philip Forsberg or play him as the 13th forward. And now he's got Jesper Bratt as the 13th forward. And the goaltending situation has been a little bit wonky. I don't understand why Jesper Wallstedt hasn't been given a game when clearly Jacob Markstrom can't stop a beach ball. And Philip Gustafsson has been very, very underwhelming. But yeah, no, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge how bizarre that whole situation is. He seems to not want to play his most offensively gifted players.
This will be the last nice things we say about the Swedes on this podcast. So we've got the preliminary round. I think it's safe to assume that we're going to get a fairly sort of rational preliminary round, right? Germany's going to beat France. Switzerland's going to beat Italy. The Czechs are going to beat Denmark, and Sweden's going to beat Latvia. I think we can all agree on that. Any of that you want to particularly argue with?
Not at all. I think the only upset, and this is a stretch, would be Denmark against the Czechs if Freddie Anderson plays the game of his life and stands on his head. But no, I think everything will go as expected.
Yeah, and I think that Czechia versus Denmark is not a particularly like the winner of that gets Canada, so like not particularly like I think Canada beats whoever wins that. So I think we can talk about the quarterfinals sort of normally. Yep. Slovakia, Germany is, I think, the most interesting of the semis. Am I crazy for thinking, despite the fact that Germany's been a little underwhelming, that's just like Germany's obviously going to win that?
So I like Germany's goaltender, obviously, better than Samuel Halavai, who was a standout in that game against Finland. I like Slovakia's defense a little bit more than Germany, even though Germany has a superstar in Moritz Seider. I think Nemec and Ferrari have been a really good pairing for them. They also have Eric Chernak, so I just think they have a little bit more depth as far as the defense goes. but I think the superstar talent, and this is where I agree with you, Evan, is conducive to success here. They will, I think, Stutzla and Draisaitl take over that game as they have done for most of the tournament so far. Shout out to our boy Timmy Stutzla, who's accrued 4 goals over his first 3 games, and Leon Draisaitl's been, equally as dominant. I think the Germans win that game, and that kind of lends credence to the Slovakian team being a little bit fraudulent, squeaking in and getting that Group B title in this wonky format that the IIHF has created. So yeah, I'd be really happy to see, and I think Germany will win that game.
Yeah, I think so. I think the high end talent, like the thing about the Germans that's been really interesting to see is that the best players have played well. Um, I'm in the tank for Draisaitl. He's literally my PFP on Twitter. Like, he's my favorite nonsense to watch. Like, he's just. It's because I grew up cheering for Danny Healy. It's just like I have a thing. Apparently, I just have a thing, like a hockey thing for German-born, snipers. Like,
I like how you're treating Danny Heatley and Leon Draisaitl as Germans, but I do want to ask you, Evan, about player interactions in this tournament so far. So we've seen Draisaitl have, I don't know, we'll call it tension between him and Matthew Tkachuk, which is, I guess, expected. They've played each other in Stanley Cup finals before, but also him and Tim Stützle on the bench that game against Germany. Uh, what's up with Draisaitl? Like, does he just have a bad temperament?
he
What's the matter with him? Because
he's
he was whining on that bench. He was complaining. He didn't seem very content with how Stützle was playing on the power play. What's the matter with that guy?
he's an extremely moody man. When things are not going his way, he I love him. I love him dearly. He can be a whiny little bitch, and when things are going well, he's a bundle of joy. But this is the man who, after a battle of Alberta, I think it was after a battle of Alberta, told Jim Matheson, was asked by Jim Matheson, like, what if you and Matthew Tkachuk have to play each other or play on the same line at the All-Star game? And he said, I'd get off the ice. This is a man who was once called pissy by Jim Matheson because he was refusing to give an answer in a usable answer at a press conference. Draisaitl, that's the thing about Draisaitl. He could be a whiny little bitch sometimes, but that's the thing about Draisaitl is that we all kind of forgive it because he's that good. Like Stützle gave a quote when Draisaitl was named as captain, and he talked about sort of like he used the word idol, right? Or I can't remember if it was idol or hero, but like all of those German guys revere Draisaitl. He's a perfectionist. He's made 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. Even in the years the Oilers haven't gone as far, it's very clear that Leon and Connor McDavid too have been deeply frustrated by the sort of inability of the rest of everybody to reach their level. And I think they're fine. Like, I don't think this is some sign of any sort of grand tension. I think Draisaitl is just a bit of a whiny bitch. I love him. I love him dearly, but I think they're fine. And I think, once, and I assume that whatever, I assume the tension was all gone in the locker room, because that's the thing about Draisaitl. He runs hot, but once he's rational, he gets it, pretty easily.
So are we saying that Jim Matheson was at least right about one thing, Evan, in his career?
I mean, it is undeniable that Leon can be an extremely pissy human being. That is an undeniable fact. So yes, I guess this is a victory for Jim Matheson. Just truly the genius of our times. No, I think the Germans are fine. what's the Switzerland is, you know, Switzerland is going to play Finland, assuming that everything goes to plan. Um, what have you thought about the Finns so far in this tournament? And like, do we care about the loss to Slovakia because they did beat Sweden fairly handily? I assume they got through Switzerland. Like, but the Swiss were the best competition Canada had. Like, do we think that? I think that's the only other semi or the only other quarterfinal that I think is actually interesting to get to the semis. Well, plus USA Sweden, but we already talked about that one.
So what do we usually say about hockey cliches? One of the great hockey cliches is playing to your identity. And it's so boring to hear over and over again, but don't the Finns just do that all the time? They just slowly suffocate you and they find a way to win. And they've had success that way before, even though the rosters have changed from one international hockey competition to another, Evan. They just did that against the Swedes. They took over the game by just grinding them down and capitalizing on their chances and relying on their backbone, UC Saros, who was posted a 947 or something save percentage this tournament. I think the Finns are a redoubtable opponent. I don't see them losing against the Swiss, but I will say the Swiss, I will humbly suggest the Swiss are the fifth best team in international hockey at this point in time, after the obvious top four of Canada, US, Sweden, and Finland. I think the Swiss have the deepest roster after those four teams. It's just such a shame. And yes, Tom Wilson was involved in this. That Fiala has gone down with an injury and won't be able to play not only in this tournament, but for the LA Kings, who just acquired Artemi Panarin. But yeah, the Swiss, I've been beating on this drum here for the whole episode. They are organized, they're disciplined, they're creating enough offense to win games. They're solid defensively, they're getting decent goaltending. So I really believed in the Swiss in this tournament to make it to the semifinals. But without Fiala, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So I don't see Finland losing, but yeah, the Swiss are not going to be an easy out.
Yeah, I was looking at the Swiss roster, I was honestly surprised by the number of people that I think I had just assumed were other Europeans that were Swiss. Like, it is actually a deeper roster than I realized of NHLers. Um, they were very good against Canada. Like, they were by far the most impressive test. Like, it took elite players being elite talents to beat them, and I think Finland. I think that game. The problem with Finland, and I think the thing that they're going to run into, whether it's in the semis or the quarters, is when you play low event hockey, when you play try to win a game 2-1, 3-2 hockey, you just leave yourself in close games more often. And hockey is it is a random sport, right? If you look at any metric of this, right? You know, if you take the best team international or in the NHL versus the worst team, you're just not going to see anything near the certainty of the best team in the NFL versus the worst team in the NFL, or the best team in the NBA versus the worst team. Like, hockey is a sport that is inherently fairly volatile. And, I do worry with Finland that, if they get dragged into an overtime situation, which is not at all impossible, and we should probably talk about the fact that it's completely insane that it's 3-on-3 overtime.
Yes, it is. That's another rule I completely disagree with.
What the fuck? Just do what the NHL does, which is when the games actually matter, 5-on-5 till somebody scores. What
Totally.
the fuck? What
There's
the
no
what
other way
the
to go about it.
fuck is this nonsense? But like, I just worry with Finland. They like to play low scoring games. They like to play close games, and obviously they're the better team. But without that sort of like game breaking not even talent, because they obviously have the talent to do it, but they play a system that is so suffocating and so low event that I do think that like ever so slightly risks more upsets. And we saw that against Slovakia, right? Like they were only able to get one goal. I just do worry that their style is more conducive to getting upset than if they sort of, you know, let off the reins a little bit with some of their high end talent.
Well, so Mike Johnson, who's been incredible in this tournament, calling games alongside Chris Cuthbert, um, has repeated this. The anatomy of an upset is great goaltending and capitalization on special teams. So I guess the upset in the Finland Swiss game would be the Swiss winning, obviously. Unless Akira Schmid performs to the level to a really solid level, and the Swiss get some power play opportunities and kill all the penalties that they take. Yeah, I don't see it happening. But now, when you consider Finland moving, moving along to the semifinal, they will need UC Saros to be at the absolute top of this game to win against an obviously more talented Team Canada, because that's who we would face in the semifinal 11. The reseed finally happens at long last in the semifinal, where if everything goes as expected, we will have Canada, Finland, and the US play Slovakia, I believe.
Well,
And
no. It would be U.S. Finland.
in
It would be
your
U.S. Finland when Leon and Tim will provide the glory, and then unfortunately Connor will have to beat the shit out of Leon, and that will suck. But the hug post game will be very fun to see between Connor and Leon. We trust
yes,
our German boys.
We both agreed on Germany winning, so I will
Yeah.
I correct myself on that one.
But Canada really fucking needs Germany to win. Like that's the thing, because Finland is so very obviously the worst. Like if the US has to go through Sweden, Finland, Canada to get to gold, like 4% of me will feel bad for the Americans. The rest of them will. The rest of me will throw a fucking conga party, but 2% of me will feel bad.
Yes. So we get the Czechs, and then the US plays Finland in the semifinals. But if Slovakia wins against Germany, then they get to play Slovakia, right? So that's the trade-off. You get a tougher quarterfinal matchup, and if you get through that, then you get to play the weaker semifinal team.
Yeah, no, because the IIHF suck and they've built a terrible system. But we can in Tim and Leon we trust. Do you have any? Is there really a hot take about anything else? I don't really think anything's happened here. Canada's probably going to get blown out on the women's side in the final. Congrats to them for getting at least a silver medal, but like that first Canada USA game doesn't really provide any optimism for the rematch, does it?
Yeah, no, I think there's a big talent gap there as far as the women's hockey tournament. I do want to get one more thing off my chest at the micro level here when it comes to Team Canada, Evan, the men's Team Canada. Yeah. So, okay, we discussed the lines at length and the way we should be deploying them in the last episode. I'll admit I was wrong about, separating Celebrini and McDavid. They've been absolutely incredible. I do have one more. I have one more change I would like to strongly recommend to John Cooper, who will not hear this recommendation, Evan, but your hundreds of thousands of listeners on this episode will. Nick Suzuki should be on the starting lineup. He should not be playing with Nate MacKinnon for two reasons. One, he's not comfortable on the wing. And two, he seems to be holding that line down. Okay, I like the Hagel combination. I think Hagel's a great complement to MacKinnon. Brings a lot of speed, some finishing ability. He's got, He's scoring 90 points every season. Nick Suzuki needs to see a demotion here, I'm afraid. I would like to see somebody else on that line to activate them. I don't think that McDavid, Celebrini, and MacKinnon will be together to start games necessarily, but Cooper will not hesitate to go to that combination in game if need be. But I need to see more out of that MacKinnon line when he's not on that loaded top line. And I think Nick Suzuki has been a little bit underwhelming in that respect, but I would not take him off the team. I think you need that right shot center. So one of the solutions I've looked at is, do you elevate Crosby on that line with MacKinnon because of the obvious chemistry that they have, and play them with Hagel, and then drop down Suzuki on the shutdown line with Stone and Marner.
It's also worth pointing out that Marchand's going to be back in the lineup.
Yes.
Which I think everyone's kind of on the same page, which is that him not playing the Swiss or the France game was it was injury management, not really performance. And, Cooper's already said that he's back in for the quarters. Like, I think we all know that Marchand's old and fairly injured, and, we want to get 3 games out of him, and that's the best way to do it. I think Suzuki needs a demotion. I think we have ways to get around it, and I think elevating Crosby. I get that it's really, really fun to be like Sidney Crosby's third line center. Like, I get that that's just like a ridiculous thing to say out loud, but when we get into a semis and a final, like, it doesn't really make sense to have, like, MacKinnon obviously is going to have to drive his own line. Obviously, if we're chasing a goal, we can promote him back up with McDavid and Celebrini, but like, I think we just need to go back to Sid and Nate together, and kind of deal with the consequences down below. I think we have enough depth, and I think we have enough like solid strategic, defensive forward depth to still have plenty of good shutdown lines and plenty of good abilities, plenty of good people to throw out, when we need a defensive zone start in that. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Olympic news and notes. The Mark Kennedy curling stuff. I have a take, but I want to hear yours before I give mine.
Okay, so I don't watch the competitions. Mea culpa, in full transparency. I haven't been able to find the time, unfortunately, Evan. You watch the sport regularly, and you know the rules. I'm as opposed to giving you a full-fledged take here, I'm going to ask you how much that little poking of the rock actually matters.
Not at all. Which is why this is so fucking funny to me. It's the dumbest controversy in the world. Now, look, Mark Kennedy being like, I'm shocked to find there's gambling going on here. Shout out Casablanca, best movie of all time, favorite movie of all time. Like, yeah, Mark Kennedy, fuck off. Okay, you did it. You're like, we get it. And the fact that everyone who's played with Mark Kennedy or who knows Mark Kennedy, that their defense of Kennedy is not, he's never done it. I don't know what you're talking about, but he's an honorable guy and no one has ever called this out before. Says a lot about the fact that he's very obviously doing it, but it's an entirely fake controversy. And it happened because Sweden knows they can't beat us. That's the thing. The Swedish team, they have been like the Swedish team for a long time, and this is probably sort of, their last dance. And so they've gotten so far in there, like they're trying to, fuck with us and play the mind games to beat us because they know they can't beat us straight up. Brad Jacobs, Mark Kennedy, Brett Gallant, that is a team that you don't beat. And at the end of the day, they're just they're just mad. They're being bitch asses. Was it really funny that Mark Kennedy, feigned ignorance at his alleged crimes? Sure, it's hilarious. Fuck off, Sweden. Maybe don't lose to the American children that they sent to the Olympics, and maybe focus on winning your own fucking games, and let us do our job of winning gold for the best goddamn curling country in the fucking world.
Well, there you go. How about that passion, listeners?
Look, curling is one of my great joys in life. Rachel Homan, please, I beg you to get your shit together, Rachel. I love you so much. Please, I don't know what is going on. Get it fucking together. But like Canada, Great Britain probably will be and absolutely should be the gold medal matchup in curling. And you know what? I like Bruce Mowat. I like the British skip. As a fellow homosexual, I feel a kinship to an openly gay athlete. However, fuck you. Go Brad Jacobs. Go Canada. Let's fucking go. Let's win gold medal.
Let's do it. And hockey should count for 3 gold medals, Evan.
Honestly, it should. Although we got one just as we were about to record, we got one in skiing, so that was fun.
We did. We free air skiing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm still mad that Kingsbury didn't get the solo moguls title because he lost on a fucking tiebreak. I'm still mad about that. But no, it's been a fun Olympics. I love the Olympics. My sleep schedule doesn't particularly love a European Olympics, but we'll make it work. Liam MacKinnon, thank you so much for coming on the pod. Liam J. MacKinnon on Twitter. I think I forgot to tweet out the show last week because I was going to tweet it, but then the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge obviously happened. I was like, well, that doesn't seem like the, best thing to do. But thanks so much for coming on, buddy. You're the best. Thanks for doing this.
Go Canada, go, Evan. And I think we will add another gold medal to our total.
Can't wait for us to record in a week, and you have to sing Jordan Biddington's praises after he whitewashes the quarters, the semis, and the finals, and doesn't give up a goal.
Well, we will find out. Hopefully, they get to the final, but that final is at 8 a.m. on Sunday. So, what better than that?
I mean, the earliest I remember being drunk in my life was the day Chrystia Freeland resigned as Liberal leader.
What a day, Evan! What a day that was.
That was an extremely funny day. I just remember getting the news at like 9:15 and being like, "Is it socially acceptable to drink yet?" Not gonna feel the issue with drinking at 8 a.m. for the gold medal game. Follow me on Twitter at eScriptshaw. Follow Scrimshaw Show on Twitter at Scrimshaw_show. Like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will at some point get this on the audio feeds.
We need to get this on Spotify.
I'm working on it. The problem is just like politics shit keeps getting in the way. Read the column that will be out by the time that you're reading this on Terrebonne, Quebec, and why everyone is wildly underestimating the Liberals there. And everybody have a good Olympics.